Hello guys, in this video we are going to discuss about the play entitled The Hairy Ape, written by Eugene O'Neill. Guys, first of all, introduction to the author or playwright. Eugene Gladstone O'Neill is not only the creator of the serious American drama, but he ranks with the greatest European dramatists of the 20th century. Drama is the most objective of the arts, but this great dramatist made personal experience the basis of his plays. This makes an understanding of his life and character indispensable for a proper appreciation of his plays. Now, birth and parentage. Eugene, the third son of James O'Neill and Ellen Quinlan, was born in a New York hotel on 6th October 1888. There was never to be any stability of background in his life. His father, James O'Neill, was one of the best known of American actors, becoming especially popular for his performance in a dramatization of Monte Cristo, which for years on the end he acted on tours through the country. This as is now common knowledge through O'Neill's long day's journey into night became a source of regret to O'Neill. His father, who had been praised by Edwin Booth for his performances as Othello, had the son believed dissipated his talents in popular melodrama. Now guys, his fame and recognition. In his own lifetime, O'Neill was established as the leading American dramatist. He had his trumps. He was awarded Pulitzer Prizes for Beyond the Horizon, Anna Christie, Strange Interlude, and Long Day's Journey into Night. He received the highest international recognition in the award of the Nobel Prize for Literature. A considerable number of books and articles have been devoted to his work since the 1920s, and in recent years this sign of interest has grown markedly more pronounced and in a remarkable way. O'Neill has remained a new dramatist since his death. Long Day's Journey into Night and A Touch of the Poet had their first performances after he died. A Moon for the Misbegotten was not acted on Broadway until then. Hughie has not yet reached the American stage. More stately Manson's is still unpublished, and it was the posthumous New York revival of the Iceman Comte in 1956 that caused a general awareness that O'Neill's finest achievements are among his last plays. Now guys, introduction of the play The Hairy Ape. The Hairy Ape was written in 1921, the first produced by the Provincetown Player on March 9, 1922 in New York. It was not quite a success on its first performance, and the censors pronounced it as obscene, immoral, and vulgar. But its real greatness was soon recognized, and since then it has been staged not only in America but also in most countries of Europe, and it has always drawn packed houses. It is certainly one of the most popular plays, if not one of the greatest of our dramatists. Now, guys, the real theme of the play is social alienation and search for identity. In other words, the real theme of the play is social alienation and search for identity. Man has lost the sense of harmony in nature. He is unable to establish harmony with his fellow man. His work has grown soulless and mechanical, and he feels lonely and isolated, a mere insignificant part of a big machine and not a human being busy in creative, purposeful activity. As Eugene O'Neill himself explained, the hairy ape was propaganda in the sense that it was a symbol of man who has lost his old harmony with nature, the harmony which he used to have as an animal and has not yet acquired in a spiritual way. Thus, not being able to find it on earth or in heaven, he is in middle, trying to make peace, taking the worst punches from lot of them. Yank cannot go forward, and so he tries to go back. This is what his shaking hands with the gorilla meant, but he cannot go back to belonging either. The first scene presents Yank as having a great faith in himself and as having an equally great sense of belonging to the stockhole and the engine. He identifies himself with the steam and smoke and steel. In other words, Yank readily accepts man's new situation in the industrial world. However, he completely fails to realize that this great material progress has been achieved at the cost of spiritual values, thereby sending man back to his primitive cave days, reducing him in the process to a hairy ape. Civilization has turned a vicious circle. The mechanical life has led to a loss of human identity. Yank, in his desire to belong, identifies himself with smoke, with steel, and the like. Then suddenly, Yank's illusion that he is part of the engine, the moving force behind it, he shattered and he is thoroughly confused. It is in scene third when Mildred confronts Yank and calls him the filthy beast that the disillusionment of Yang begins. Rage and bewildered fury rush back on Yang. He feels himself insulted in some unknown fashion. In the very heart of his pride, it is from this point toward onwards that Yang's questionings and self-doubt begin, and he feels that he no longer belongs. The hairy ape is thus centered on Yang's loss of faith and belief in himself, as well as in the world in which he lives. Yang, in his search for identity, discovers firstly that he is alone, lonely, and the world is impossible to live in. And secondly, that still is no power within him but a prison around him. Steel makes the ship which represents power, but it also makes the cage in which Yang is imprisoned. Yang had thought that he was the creative element in the ship, the working man, but now it's all dark and groping blindly. He asks, "Where do I get off? Say, where do I go from here?" Ironically enough, he ends up at the zoo and creeping close to the gorilla, he asks, "And we both members of the same club, the hairy apes?" And Yang surrenders himself to the only self image of which he can be conscious, that symbolized by the ape and the case. It is where that his sense of disillusionment is complete. This scene portrays the total and final disintegration of Yang, though Eugene O'Neill ends by saying, "And perhaps the hairy ape at last belongs." One is left with the feeling that this species of hairy ape does not even belong to the case. Guys, now symbolism in the play. The dramatist has used symbolism to universalize his theme, to enrich the play and impart to it a deeper significance. Yang symbolizes the proletariat, the have-not. The worker is an industrious society. He symbolizes every man for what happens to him is happening to countless millions in the modern age. Mildred Douglas, too, is not an individual but the representative of a class, the class of the decadent rich. The confrontation of the two in scene third is symbolic of the confrontation of capital and labor, of classic conflict, fraught with such destructive possibilities for modern civilization. The disintegration of Yang is symbolic of the decadence and disintegration of the American dream, of the dream of the Garden of Eden, of the possibility of golden age through science and technology. The gorilla shuffling off menacingly into the darkness it left is symbolic of the mysterious cataclysmic forces threatening a negligent society. Now guys, next point is expressionism or psychological realism in the play. Throughout Attention has been focused on the soul of Yang, and expressionistic technique has been used to reveal his spiritual loneliness, frustration, and disintegration. The number of characters has been cut down to the minimum. The other stalkers have not been individualized at all. They are mere a chorus of voices, throwing into sharp relief the central figure. Similarly, the frequenters of the Fifth Avenue are merely voices moving about like figures in a dream. The prisoners in the prison scene are equally without individuality. With every scene, there is a deeper and deeper probing into the soul of Yang. Each scene making a forward step in his spiritual disintegration. The final scene is a long piece of interior monologue in which Yang pours out all his spiritual trouble and agony. There is action in the drama and also some melodramatic thrills. But the action, which really counts, in internal rather than external. The real action of the play lies in the spiritual regression of Yang from man to the hairy ape. The language used, the dialogue is short and snappy. The characters express themselves briefly so that attention may not be diverted from what goes on in the inside of Yang. The dialogue has pared down to represent the basic feelings of man. There are no doubt elaborate stage directions in the manner of a realistic play of Galsworthy or Shaw, but the details are always carefully selected to create some particular impression. Thus, in the very first scene, we are told the treatment of this scene or of any other scene in the play should by no means be naturalistic. The effect sought after is a cramped space in the bowels of a ship imprisoned by white steel. Equally expressionistic is the description of the denizens of the 50th Avenue in scene 5. The crowd from church enter from the right, sauntering slowly and affectedly, their heads held stiffly up, looking neither to right nor left, talking in toneless, simpering voices. The women are rugged, calcimined, dyed, overdressed to the nth degree. The men are in tailcoats, tall hats, spats, etc. The procession of gaudy Morientes, yet with something of the relentless horror of Frankenstein's in their detached, mechanical unawareness. In short, in the play, expressionistic technique has been effectively used in the interest of psychological realism. Guys, this play is a modern tragedy also. In the ancient Greek tragedy, there was a struggle between man and the gods, and this struggle sent the tragic hero to his doom. But the modern man has lost faith in the supernatural, in the destiny of fate of Greek conception. Hence, The use of such a supernatural agency in a modern tragedy would appear unreal and unconvincing. In a modern tragedy, there is still a struggle, but the struggle is with one's sense of frustration and loneliness, with his own sense of alienation. Man wants to belong, to have a sense of brotherhood. He struggles to go forward, to find a way of belonging, and this struggle sends him to his doom as surely and relentlessly as fate in the ancient tragedy. And the tragic spectacle, the waste of good human material represented by Yang, is so moving and view inspiring as in the tragedy of the Greeks. Guys, so guys, this is the very beautiful play and a psychological play as well. You must read it out and enjoy it. Hope you will like it. Thank you.